RamiX back in the video. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, as that would be deeply appreciated. Share the video to a friend who likes this or just anime content in general. Comment down below your thoughts and feelings about the video. Become a member of the channel. Once again, hit that like and subscribe button. And with that being said, we can now begin the video. It's a gloomy day for the Leaf Village, with Naruto at this point being only 4 years old. Sitting by a small pond close to the outskirts of the village, Naruto sat and thought about many things, whilst at the same time thinking about nothing. That kind of sounded weird, but I meant to say time. Naruto quite literally sat there, thinking about everything that had happened to him in his life up until that point. For starters, he thought to himself about the villagers and how they all seemed to hate him, resent him, and, well, etc., etc. How the villagers would throw composted items at him and even run away from him in fear. He thought about how the children wouldn't play with him, and how whenever they did, their parents would catch a glimpse of him or literally just see him and immediately hush their children to leave. It was as if he was hated by everyone for no apparent reason. Naruto continued to get lost in his own thoughts as he felt himself about to enter a calming, deep, sleep-like state. It was here that Naruto would see a shadowy figure pass through his peripherals. Naruto bolted up, looking around, surrounded mostly by trees. He saw nothing as he sat down once more, falling back into his almost deep-like sleep. It was then that Naruto did in fact pass out. It would be here that said shadowy figure would be in Naruto's view once more. But at this point, Naruto was already asleep, so it didn't really matter. The shadowy figure, who would now appear to be a man, lifted Naruto up, putting him on his back as the man began to run somewhere else. Naruto would wake up from his short nap, now on the back of the man, as all Naruto could see was stark gray hair, with the wind hitting his face, allowing for a cold but discreet breeze. Naruto would then speak small words, but they were still words. And by this, all I really mean is in small sentences here and there. Most of them were just to ask who the man was, but he did ask many questions, like, for instance, where they were going. With that being said, after about 6 minutes of running, the man placed Naruto down, patting him on the head and kneeling down Naruto's level so that they now saw eye to eye. It was then that the man would lift up his Konohagakure headband, revealing a scar down his left eye. Although at the time, Naruto couldn't actually make out which eye it was on, since he could barely figure out his right from his left at this point in time. This is a 4-year-old Naruto. With that being said, the man then began to take off his mask, which covered half of his face. The man would then speak. "My name is Kakashi Hatake, and you are Naruto Uzumaki." Kakashi would smile so hard that his eyes began to shut. It was then that Naruto couldn't help himself from falling asleep once more, from exhaustion, this time into the arms of Kakashi, whose warming spirit felt so kind to Naruto. It was then that Naruto would awake, or rather, it was then that Naruto awoke, the next day exactly 12 hours ago, from when he fell asleep. As he woke up, there was a fresh bowl of Ichiraku's ramen waiting on the table for him. Kakashi grinned, reading a newspaper, as Naruto chowed down on the food in front of him. It's like Ichiraku's ramen, but at home." Naruto smiled as he continued to eat, slurping some of the ramen noodles in the bowl. It was then that Naruto looked around the house he was in as Naruto asked a question. "Are you the only one who lives here? Because this house is pretty big, if I do say so myself." Kakashi smiled once more. "Yep, it's just me in this house. And as of today, it is you and me, both." Huh? Naruto replied, stopping himself from taking another bite of ramen in his confusion. From what Kakashi had just said, Naruto didn't know how to respond. It was then that Kakashi put down a paper in front of Naruto. It's a lot of words, but most of them are shortened so that you can actually read them, Naruto, Kakashi said as he continued to speak. Anyhow, the documents, once signed by you, would give me legal custody over you. I already went over the legal side of things with the orphanage, and they said that they would be glad to get you off their hands. So all you have to do is sign your name right there. And just like that, I'm adopted? Yes, you are adopted. Really? Yes, Naruto. Kakashi replied with a smile still on his face. Passing Naruto a pencil and a pen, he watched Naruto's eyes gloss over the page. And he also watched them decide whether or not Naruto was going to use the pencil or the pen. Naruto decided on the pen. With that being said, Naruto continued to watch the page, as in tandem, Kakashi continued to watch Naruto. It was then that Kakashi realized that Naruto wasn't actually reading the paper and that he was actually just glossing over the words. It was then that Kakashi would speak. I've been watching your eyes, and you're avoiding complex words. Instead of skipping over them, you can just ask me. Maybe what they mean, or you can try and say them in your head. And only then can you move past the words. This is a step-by-step process, Naruto. And if you don't want me to adopt you, then you need to state that. You could skip over some vital information. Naruto shed a tear, as Kakashi couldn't help himself from tearing up a little bit at the sight of Naruto's own tear, thinking that it had been something that he had said to Naruto that caused Naruto's tears in the first place. But instead, Naruto now smiled. Kakashi then asked Naruto why he was crying, as Naruto continued. I'm crying from joy. For the first time in my life, somebody genuinely cares about me. Besides Lord Third. But he cares about everybody in the village. And obviously, maybe the odd person to show pity for me. But, unlike them, you actually care about me. And better yet, you're adopting me. Naruto eventually signed off on the paper as he stood up, jumping off of the chair he was eating his ramen on, as he walked towards Kakashi. Kakashi, perplexed, raised an eyebrow, as Naruto would kneel to Kakashi. I hear that kneeling like this in most cases is a sign of respect, so I wanted to show you that. I have a lot of respect for you, Kakashi. Kakashi patted Naruto on his head, telling Naruto to stand, and that such a thing isn't necessary. With that, Naruto and Kakashi walked outside into a large field, where there was training equipment in nearly every direction. Kakashi then cleared his throat. This is where you will spend all of your free time. There are training regimens that you can follow, the same ones that I did when I was your age. Although, some of the ones here are tweaked to cater to weaker individuals. Hey, that's not nice, Kakashi. I'm not weaker than you were at my age. I bet I could kick your butt if you were my age. Well, you didn't let me finish, Naruto. And that's a lie. I definitely would have beat you. Anyways, in due time, I do believe that you may even surpass me. Naruto then looked at Kakashi and then back out into the vast field. It was then that he looked at Kakashi once more. Well, do you have a twin? Well, no. Well, why do you ask? To Naruto, it seemed that Kakashi was in two places at once. Kakashi would laugh, stating that the other Kakashi that Naruto saw out in the field was an extension of himself through his chakra. A shadow clone is what it's called. Naruto rose his hand as if a light bulb lit in his head, stating that he's pretty sure he's heard of shadow clones before. Naruto and Kakashi continued to talk for a little while longer, before Kakashi had to take on a mission. Before leaving, Kakashi would tell Naruto that his shadow clone would be teaching him how to control his chakra, disappearing into the wind using the body flicker jutsu. Kakashi's shadow clone would approach Naruto, as Naruto began to approach the shadow clone as well. Kakashi's shadow clone was a little bit different, as it acted in a way that was more mundane, or rather more human. This was in part due to Kakashi just being a master of the shadow clone jutsu, but Kakashi's shadow clone could talk, which wasn't very uncommon for shadow clones, but it still did surprise Naruto. Naruto now started a conversation with Kakashi's shadow clone, as Naruto asked Kakashi what they should do first as far as training goes. Naruto looked around, seeing all of the training equipment, and pointed at what appeared to be some sort of treadmill, or something where Naruto had to run a lot in some sort of place. With that being said, Kakashi's shadow clone shook his head. With that being said, I shall only refer to Kakashi's shadow clone as Kakashi at this point, as it's going to be kind of annoying to keep saying Kakashi's shadow clone, Kakashi's shadow clone, Kakashi's clone, Kakashi's clone. You get the point. With that being said, Kakashi would then tell Naruto that they won't be using the equipment. It would be then that Naruto's perplexed. What will we be doing then, Kakashi? Kakashi continued. Well, Naruto, you will be fighting me. I'll be fighting you? Oh, why? Just a friendly little spar. But Naruto, it's very important that you don't play fight with me. Pretend I just killed somebody, and now try to kill me. Obviously, I don't want to kill you, Kakashi. Why would you want me to do that? Have faith, Naruto, that no matter what you can do, you won't kill me. Okay. Naruto then gathered his thoughts, calming himself. It was then that Naruto took a deep breath in. I'm ready, Naruto had said to himself under his breath. Kakashi, hearing this, got into a fighting stance, as Naruto rushed towards Kakashi, hitting him in his leg. His upper thigh, to be more exact. Kakashi didn't move. Kakashi didn't even budge. He still stayed in the exact same position. It was then that Naruto tried to attack Kakashi from multiple angles, but none of his attacks worked. It didn't matter if it was an uppercut, a headbutt, punching him, kicking him, kneeing him, grabbing him, and trying to throw him. Kakashi didn't move. So Naruto left. He, in a way, actually ran into a small forest. It was then that he came out with what appeared to be a very sharp stick. Rushing towards Kakashi, this time Kakashi did dodge, avoiding the weapon by grasping his hands onto it and throwing Naruto down to the ground. It was then that Naruto stood there. Or, in this case, stood there in time, as it would be shortly after Kakashi threw Naruto that, well, Naruto would fall face first to the ground. Naruto now lied on the ground, no words to be said from his mouth, and with small tears forming in his eyes. Kakashi at first thought that these tears were because, well, Naruto was hurt, but they were because Naruto was upset that he couldn't hurt Kakashi. With that being said, he stood up once more, trying to attack Kakashi again and again. This continued on for about 5 minutes more, until Naruto was absolutely exhausted. It was then that Kakashi measured exactly where Naruto's strength was, and Naruto would begin to learn things, like actually learn things. He learned how to wield a kunai. He built up body strength through interesting training regimens that Kakashi put together for him. But most of all, besides the basics of being a Genin level ninja, Naruto learned a chakra nature. Wind Style. This chakra nature would take 2 years for Naruto to learn. During those 2 years, Naruto spent almost an entirety of it working on his body and strengthening it. With that being said, this means that Naruto gets to Kakashi at 4 years old, right? Pretty simple. After that, he spends 2 years learning his first chakra nature, which is Wind Style. He is now 6 years old. For 1 more year, Naruto works on strengthening his body to the level of an adult male. And for 1 year on top of that, Naruto masters Wind Style and also obtains some jutsu for the Wind Style chakra nature, as well as he gets 2 more summonings, a frog and a dog summoning. It's at this point that Naruto is 8 years old as he skips through the academy to actually just continue his tutelage under Kakashi, although it did take some convincing from Kakashi to Lord Third. Skipping the academy isn't something that everybody just gets to do, no problem. With that being said, Naruto skips through the academy to continue his tutelage under Kakashi, as I quite literally just mentioned. At the age of 9, Naruto continues to learn under Kakashi, learning another chakra natures. I say chakra natures instead of chakra nature, but that was on purpose, as he's actually learning 2 chakra natures and not just 1. Those chakra natures being Fire Style and Lightning Style. Naruto would also master the Rasengan, and at the age of 10, Naruto can successfully add Wind Style to his Rasengan, similarly to how he was able to when he was 16 years old in Shippuden. And finally, at 10 years old, Naruto is promoted to a Chunin, as he would eventually be seen as too strong to be only a Chunin. Having the requirements to become a Jonin, he opts to taking neither option. So he doesn't want to remain a Chunin, and he doesn't want to become a Jonin, and instead he joins the Anbu for 1 year. After 1 year of being an Anbu and going through an immense change in his emotional stability, as the Anbu was very hard for Naruto to go through, and, well, he experienced quite a lot of death, and he also got a lot stronger. With that being said, Naruto would eventually retire from the Anbu, as he would become a Jonin, taking on his own Genin squad on his 11th birthday. We now switch to the actual timeline instead of going through events that happened in the timeline. It is here that we switch to the perspective of Naruto, who, upon being granted a squad of his own, smiles, laughing with Kakashi, on a dim-lit day for the Leaf Village. A single cherry blossom, or a sakura, as they're called in Japan, would fall in between Kakashi and Naruto, as they now both look to the ground, where the cherry blossom was. Naruto then picked it up, looking at it. Wow. I hope that my squad flourishes, just like a blossom should. Actually, maybe one day they'll all become Jonin, and we can laugh together just like you and I are. Kakashi. You're right, Naruto. That'd be extraordinary. I wish you the best of luck with your squad. I have to go run some errands for Lord Third, but I'll see you later at home? Yeah. I might get there a little bit late. I have some paperwork to do, but yeah, you'll see me at home. Kakashi would then disappear into the wind using his body flicker jutsu, as Naruto then did some paperwork, filling out the paperwork required to become the Jonin Sensei of what would later become known as Team 11. Naruto would quickly rise through the ranks as one of the best squad captains the Leaf has ever seen. Although at this point he's only taken his team on C and D rank missions. Now maybe you're asking about Naruto's squad, or his team, or his squad members, whatever it may be. Excuse me. And it is simple. His squad members contain Raito Nanagiri, Kato Nara, who's actually going to be half Uchiha in this timeline, and finally, Soma Salamander. Together, they form Team 11. 6 months now pass. This means that Naruto is 11 and a half, quite literally. With that being said, though, they are on a mission, and they have been going on missions for 6 months now. Missions outside of the Leaf Village. In total, their squad has completed 21 B-rank missions, 1 A-rank mission, 35 C-rank missions, and a whopping 63 D-rank missions. A pretty good squad so far, especially since they've only been doing missions for about 6 months. With that being said, on their 6th mission out of the village, not literally out of the village, but in a specific part of the world of Naruto that I will get into soon. So their sixth I'm sorry, I did not mean to say that. 6th mission in the Cloud Village, things went horribly wrong. And by horribly wrong, I mean horribly wrong. Upon entering the Cloud Village, they would be pushed away. The mission was supposedly no longer needed. It was then that Naruto, leaving the village with his squad, would be ambushed by bandits, many bandits. And these were not ordinary bandits. They seemed to be controlled by something or someone, guided by a plot or a plan. And most of all, some of them seemed to have some sort of, well, to put it lightly, some sort of mind control. And not a literal mind control, but it seemed as if they had a reason for doing what they're doing. And a bunch of them also seemed to be stronger than your average human. They had marks on their bodies. Some were mere scars from what appeared to be some sort of slavery, but some of their other marks appeared to be similar to a topic that Naruto researched before actually becoming a Jonin Sensei. Curse marks. With that being said, these people are being led by Orochimaru, although Orochimaru isn't actually there. These bandits' main goal is to capture Naruto, who is known to be the Nine-Tailed Jinchuriki in some capacity. At least Orochimaru knows that Naruto is and wants him to see if Naruto can make a vessel. As in this timeline, Naruto is a lot more intriguing than Sasuke, just based off of, well, the difference. Naruto is 11 and a half years old and has been in the Anbu, knows 3 chakra natures, and is a Jonin squad captain. Whereas Sasuke sits in the academy studying, and, well, yet again, studying. With that being said, Naruto defeated most of the bandits until 3 specific people appeared. Jugo, Suigetsu, Hozuki, and Karin Uzumaki. Naruto was perplexed by these people. They were powerful. And thus, he left his squad to the bandits, as leaving his squad to Jugo, Karin, and Suigetsu would only bring in the worst. It was then that Naruto approached Suigetsu, Jugo, and Karin, all at the same time, as he would clear his throat. It was then that he picked up a water bottle from a side pouch that he carried. Unwrapping and, well, taking a sip of water. Who are you guys? Out of all the bandits, you guys seem to have some sort of, well, personality, to put it lightly. We are servants of Lord Orochimaru. I've heard enough, Naruto said under his breath, now holding a blade, or rather a kunai, to Suigetsu's neck. You didn't even let me finish. I know who Orochimaru is. Before becoming a Jonin squad leader, I presented Lord Third with an article on Lord Orochimaru. I've done my time to pick out threats that me and my squad may encounter. The threats range from the 7 swordsmen of the mist, well, the rogue ones anyway, to Lord Orochimaru, and even to some of the Jinchuriki that run rampant, those who abandon their villages. Or rather, the villages who abandon their Jinchuriki. I'm not sure where the Jinchuriki is, but you sure know a lot about Lord Orochimaru. Do you two have a past? Shut up, before I end your life. Well, it already seems as if that's what you're going to do, are you not? No. Actually, I was going to kindly command you to tell all of your friends to leave. And as for you, red-haired lady and, well, orange-haired guy, I'm gonna need you to back the hell away from us. We're just passing. All we wish for is to return back home to the Leaf Village. Jugo grit his teeth, looking down to the ground, as Naruto knew that something was up. It was then that Naruto opted to just killing Suigetsu right there and then, as he stabbed his blade into Suigetsu, who formed into water, surprising Naruto. Naruto jumped in fear, really, jumping away from Suigetsu's body, as Jugo, now severely angered, grit his teeth, rushing towards Naruto, about to slam into him with what appeared to be chakra exhaust. With that, Naruto moving in time away from Suigetsu meant that Jugo was just going through Suigetsu's wet body, which only served to annoy Jugo rather than anger him. Naruto now stood still. You two are quite the people. I assume you are experiments of Orochimaru? Yes, we are experiments of Orochimaru, you could say. I am the originator of the curse mark, Jugo said under his breath, as he spoke louder when continuing to speak. And Suigetsu here, the one who you tried to kill, he is... whatever. Anyways, Karin's the most interesting one out of us all. She has the ability to heal others through a bite. She also has adamantine chakra chains, and she's a part of this rare clan known as the Uzumaki. What did you just say her clan was? Or rather is? The Uzumaki. You probably haven't heard of them. Naruto's jaw almost dropped, as he would disappear using the body flicker jutsu, now watching his team. It was then that he would clear out about 100 of the bandits. To give you guys a rough estimate of how many bandits there was about 5,000. And that's not really a lot, judging by the fact that these bandits are mostly the people from Orochimaru's prisons and hideouts. With that being said, Naruto cleared out a fair deal of them as just to give his team a little bit of a break. It was then that he created 2 shadow clones to aid his team, as he continued to fight Karin, Suigetsu, and Jugo. I don't know why you're here, or what you're here for, but I'll have you know that my squad will not die here. And as for me, Naruto would hear a small rattling sound in the background as he turned, and there behind him was Suigetsu. The sound that he heard was actually the bursting of his eardrum, as a loud sound wave protruded into his ear. Some technique that Jugo had decided to use on Naruto. Naruto tried to avoid Jugo, but couldn't, as Naruto would suffer an extreme blow to his chest, sending him flying into a tree. It was then that Naruto stood. Slowly, he stood. It wasn't like he was getting up as, well, fast as lightning. With that, Jugo then caught sight of him once more, this time slamming him into a group of bandits. With now 23 bandits surrounding him, Naruto was subject to extreme pain, with the bandits deciding that killing Naruto would be best, almost about to plunge their blades into Naruto. Well, before Naruto yelled. Although, to some, it sounded more like a roar. A tiger's roar. And, in a way, a demon's roar. Naruto then continued to yell, as eventually the bandits sort of got scared, giving Naruto enough room to jump into the air and, well, defeat them all in one fell swoop. Although it did take a decent amount of his strength and stamina at the time. Naruto, now with multiple cuts all over and, well, a few broken ribs, would walk towards Suigetsu, Jugo, and Karin, drawing his blade. You know, this whole time I've only been using kunai and my own taijutsu skills. I feared that using my blade would only hinder me. That using my blade was not necessary. Let's just say it's been a while since I've ran into an opponent that can force me into using my own weapon like this. Suigetsu would smirk, displaying one of his fangs. Suigetsu, Karin, and Jugo. Naruto undid his headband, now staring directly at it, continuing to keep one eye on Karin, Jugo, and Suigetsu in the case that they moved, as he would continue his own little monologue, although it was to Karin, Jugo, and Suigetsu directly. It's been a while since anyone's pushed me this far. You guys heard me say that, did you not? Naruto didn't even wait for the response. Instead, he continued talking. The last person to ever do that was a guy named Ace. He was from a far-off village. Actually, I'm not even sure if it was a village. But it was a land, and it still is a land. The land of snow, I believe. I see. So he got to Senator's breath. What was this Ace guy like? Oh, he was strong. He gave me a run for my money. And he was next in line to become the leader of the Land of Snow, if I'm not mistaken. Although that was not based on political connections, rather his mere strength alone. Oh, so you beat a top shot of the Land of Snow. Congrats. I believe that we should all be kneeling to you at this point, shouldn't we? No, not at all. You three have pushed me far beyond my limits. Not literally, but far beyond what I was willing to show. Far beyond what I wanted to show. I didn't want to show this. Because I was told that my blade, it acts different. It acts different? What exactly do you mean by that? Well, I got this blade from a merchant, but he said that the blade was cursed. Cursed? You don't really believe in curses, do you? Jugo said to himself, under his breath, but Naruto could still hear him. Of course he believes in curses. Why would he mention it otherwise? Karin said to Jugo, quietly, thinking that Naruto couldn't hear, but, well, they weren't talking quietly enough. And, well, Karin's a little bit of a loudmouth. With that being said, Naruto continued on. The merchant actually told me that the blade was cursed. So, I tested it out. If the blade could cut me, upon throwing it in the air, then the blade was not mine to use. But it bounced right off of my skin. And thus I took the blade. But I'll warn you all that the blade seems to have a mind of its own. And you will all soon learn exactly what I mean by that. Naruto would unleash the blade as purple chakra swarmed it, flowing off of the blade at the same time. It looks similar to when Naruto collected 9 Tails chakra in the Chunin exams versus Neji. The chakra continued to spiral around the blade, as eventually Naruto grasps onto it tighter, and tighter, and tighter. Well now, do you care for a little bit of a dance? Naruto said, as Jugo would smirk, rushing toward Naruto. Speaking of what you were talking about earlier, it's been a while since I've been pushed in a fight too. Lord Orochimaru and Suigetsu are the only ones who can do that to me. Jugo now used his chakra to power himself through the air towards Naruto. Naruto would dodge, slicing off Jugo's arm. You see, Jugo's arm would fall to the ground, creating a small dust cloud. You see, I told you, the blade's cursed, man. I didn't even mean to cut off your arm. I only planned to scratch it. My arm! What did you... Wow. When you lose a limb, probably should have told you this. Although, I didn't really think that you would be losing an arm today. Nonetheless, I guess I should explain. When you lose a limb, to put it simply, there is a level of fear that comes to you. For instance, in war, when your leg has to be amputated, the surgeon determines where to cut in order to remove all the damaged tissue and salvage as much healthy tissue as possible. In your case, that did not happen. I cut clean, although I did only plan to leave a mere scratch on your skin. Anyhow, back to the surgeon. The remaining bone, blood vessels, and nerves are sealed off. Usually it would be with chakra. And then the muscles will be cut and shaped to allow for, well, a prosthetic if you want one. With that being said, in this case, I cut right clean through both healthy and, well, unhealthy tissues. And I don't know if you noticed, but when drawing my blade back to myself, I cut your skin once more. Yeah, I noticed that. I really did. Is that so? Yes. Wow. There is a hospital quite close to here, if I'm not mistaken. It's in the Cloud Village, just short of where you stopped us. They could give you stitches, or rather surgical staples. And, well, your wound would be covered in a bandage, and maybe a tube would be placed under your skin for any excess fluid. Although, I believe that currently you have a more pressing matter. Or rather, in this case, matter. I do. What is it? Well, I'm afraid you already know. Naruto would disappear. It was then that he now held a blade to Jugo's neck. The last time that I held a blade to somebody's neck was Suigetsu Hozuki, your comrade. I'm sure you don't have to guess what happened there. You stopped me. Quite quickly, I admit. You were ready to bludgeon me with your chakra. But, luckily for both of you guys, Suigetsu was able to quickly form in the water. I don't know if you saw, but I did almost kill Suigetsu. If it weren't for his water, jutsu, whatever it is, he would have died. What? He's right, Suigetsu said, in a calming yet in a little bit scared voice. as he now saw Jugo being held at the same position that he was. Now, this is the last and final time I'll be making demands. Naruto would raise his swords once more, this time cutting Jugo's other arm. Jugo continued to scream in pain as Naruto held a blade to his neck, making him unable to scream, but he continued to grit his teeth, and tears were clearly visible. Well, now, this is the final chance. Pack up your things and leave. The bandits, tell them to go with you. Are you sure you want to do that? This could be a good thing for you. How exactly is a ton of bandits and you three a good thing for me? Suigetsu shed a tear, as Jugo did the same. For different reasons, of course. Jugo at literally the loss of both of his arms and the extreme pain that came with that. And as for Suigetsu, the fact that he was watching one of his closest allies be, well, held at death's door, with really nothing allowing Suigetsu to stop him. Fine. But the problem is, those bandits don't follow our orders, no matter what we say. Even if we say they are direct orders from Lord Orochimaru, they actually most likely won't listen. It's depressing. These guys all want their freedom, so they're willing to do as much damage as they can to get it. Never mind the fact that they haven't actually been free in a very long time. But I can promise you that me, Karin, and Jugo will leave at once if you grant us that offering. Sure. Go ahead. I apologize for taking both of your limbs, Jugo. Your arms. Here, take them. Naruto would disappear and reappear, this time holding both of Jugo's hands. Although he held both of his hands in like one of his hands, both of Jugo's arms were being held, as basically holding Jugo's hands allowed Naruto to hold Jugo's whole arm /arm, since it's two arms. With that, he would pass them to Jugo, who wasn't able to catch them, so Karin did it instead, carrying them in her arms. With that, Naruto continued. Orochimaru, I hate his guts. He abandoned the village. Unfortunately, I haven't been one to meet Orochimaru myself, so I can't say much on our own relationship. But I will say this. I believe that he can get you your old arms back, if that's what you wish to achieve. Or rather, if that's what you want. But if it's not, then I'm sure you can come up with something else. I'm sorry for that. If somebody took my arm, I would be, well, saddened, to say the least. Saddened? Really? Yes, really. I would be gravely upset. Well, luckily for you, you have both of your arms, Naruto. How do you know my name? I didn't ask any of you that. How do you three know my name in the first place? Of course we know you. Naruto Uzumaki. It was then that they turned their backs to Naruto, walking away. Naruto now had the bandits to deal with. As he returned to his squad, there he saw that the last man standing was Raito Nanagiri. Also, a brief description on his squad members, if you forgot them already. Raito Nanagiri, Kato Nara. Nanagiri, the last name of Raito, is not an actual specific clan, similarly to, say, the Haruna. Just means that they don't have an innate Kikigenkai. With that being said, Kato Nara, it is pretty, well, simplistic here. Kato/Kato Nara is a Nara, obviously, but he is also a half Uchiha. And finally, Soma Salamander. Together, they all form Team 11, with Naruto, of course. It would be then that Naruto would return, with his entire team being in shambles. What the hell happened here? It's a bloodbath. Naruto said under his breath, slicing away several bandits as he said it. Blood covering his eyes, he continued to cut down most of them. In his rage, and with quick speed, he killed 700 bandits. Now all that was left was about a number of 2,000. Naruto almost laughed. All of you bandits are pathetic, wanting your stupid little freedom. But you don't deserve your freedom. You don't deserve anything. Naruto continued to cut down all of them. With that, Naruto now tended back to his squad. It was here that he would see, well, a very badly bloodied Soma and Raito. As for, well, Kato Nara/Uchiha, Kato continued to fight. But instead, now that Naruto had taken on the battle with the bandits, he instead began to aid his teammates, trying to save their lives. Naruto shed a tear as he watched the situation, looking at the lives of Soma and Raito slowly fading into nothingness, with wounds that he knew could not be healed, and definitely not in time. No. Naruto fell to his knees, punching the dirt beneath him. I failed you. I failed you all, and I'm so sorry. I promise that you will have a proper burial. And I promise that I will avenge your deaths. Soma, my apologies, and Raito now brandish smiles on their faces. Thank you, Naruto-sensei, Soma said, as Naruto continued to cry, tears now streaming down his face. I'm so sorry, Soma, Raito. I didn't mean for this to happen. It was then that this time Raito spoke. As you know, Naruto, this was just supposed to be a simple mission to the Cloud. Unfortunately, the Cloud already took on the mission and we couldn't get help from the village. But none of us planned this. So it wasn't your fault. You were dealing with the 3 other guys, so I'm sure your hands were full. I was toying with them when I should have just ended them right there and then so that I could save my teammates. Don't you understand that? Maybe even a little bit. Of course I understand that. But Naruto, you were fighting for us. And we were fighting for you. We died because the unexpected happened. We didn't plan for this. None of us did. So don't beat yourself up about it, Naruto-sensei. Hearing that continued to make Naruto cry, as Raito and Soma displayed smiles on their faces, even in their final moments. It was then that Kato would be slammed to the ground by a bandit, as the bandit would raise his blade, about to plunge it into Kato. It was then that Naruto would put out his hand. No, you have no right to touch my student. Upon saying these words, the bandit took a step back. Naruto seemed colder. As Naruto rose to his feet, a bubbly orange, vermilion red chakra appeared around him. Nine-Tails chakra began to form around Naruto as he stood to his feet. Kato, would you allow your sensei a moment? Naruto didn't look back at Kato, but Kato knew that whatever happened, Naruto would be able to kill all of them. He just got the feeling. As Naruto stepped closer to the bandits, all that was present to see was an absolute bloodbath. Naruto killed them, every single one of the bandits, in cold blood. Some of them he even decapitated, cutting their heads clean off. Others, others were a different story. Entirely. With that being said, it remained the same. Naruto brutally killed every single bandit that day. With that, Nine-Tails chakra now seeping back into him, he walked slowly back over to Raito and Soma. It was then that he checked their pulses. And they were all but dead. Naruto then put Soma on his back and Raito. And on top of that, Kota. Or rather, Kato. And with that, Naruto returned back home to the Leaf Village. While editing this video, I realized that I was extremely tired. I recorded this video at 2:19 where I live, 2:19 in the morning, and I woke up at 8 that day. So I was very, very tired while recording. My allergies were also going off quite a lot, / quite a bit. So, I just wanted to make that clear. And I realized, just a second ago, I said Kota, when I should have said Kato. It's a rookie mistake, I guess, but, his name is Kato, or Kato, or Kato, but it is not Kota. With that being said, back to the video. Upon returning to the Leaf Village, village guards would spot Naruto. Trying to help Naruto, Naruto fell to his knees, telling them to instead prioritize his Genin students. As the guards would bring the students back into the Leaf Village and, to the hospital, Naruto would come to find out 6 hours later that Soma and Raito had succumbed to their wounds and died. It was then, upon hearing this news, that Naruto's Sharingan would transform into the Mangekyo. Backstory. You guys did not expect that at all, I promise you. Yeah, Mangekyo, where, what, when? Yeah, just give me a minute and we're about to explain exactly how that happened. With that, walking out of the hospital 6 hours after they had been admitted was the lone survivor of Team 11, besides its captain, Naruto Uzumaki. It was Kato Nara, who is now missing his right eye. Or, well, to Naruto it seemed that way, although it was actually his left eye he was missing. Hey, Naruto-sensei, Kato said under his breath, as Naruto only smiled. I guess I gave you that eye for nothing, didn't I? No, Naruto shook his head. I believe that this eye will come in handy in future. Naruto's Mangekyo then shifted back into its 3 Tomoe, as it had quite literally skipped all of the stages of the Sharingan in one fell swoop. Now we need a backstory on how Naruto even got this eye. Well, I will be giving that to you. While being attacked by the bandits, Naruto had realized that, well, not all of his teammates were going to make it. And Kato specifically realized that he wasn't going to either. And thus, he gifted Naruto a gift that Naruto would always remember. One of his Sharingan. Although Kato survived, he would be forever, let's just say, disabled. Forced to be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. It was quite sad. With that being said, Naruto was broken. He had lost 2 of his students, and another was terminally bedridden in a way. As for, well, Soma and Raito, they succumbed to their wounds and, well, died. It would be then that Naruto would quit. He would quit being a Jonin squad captain. It was then that after 1 more month, that Naruto would feel that he was ready to be a Jonin again. And after a few more days, Naruto quickly realized that he wouldn't mind being a squad captain once more. But it was only by recommendation of Kato and Kakashi, who both told Naruto that it would be best if he became a squad captain again. They encouraged Naruto all throughout his time as both a Jonin, after, well, quitting being a squad captain, and all throughout his time as, well, just quitting as a whole. With that being said, Naruto now was a squad captain again. But this time he would be a founding captain, which was a new concept that Hiruzen created to actually aid Naruto. Basically, how it worked was that Naruto was in control of the main squad. As an assistant captain, Naruto had the option to choose really whoever was available. And in this case, it was Kakashi. On this squad was Sasuke Uchiha, Kakashi Hatake, Naruto Uzumaki, Subaru Nara, and Sakura Haruno. Together, they formed Team 7. With that being said, most of the canon timeline actually goes relatively the same. It would be here that Naruto would take them on the Land of Waves mission. But unfortunately for them, they would be ambushed here. And it was not sweet. The second ambush, it brought Naruto pain. And actually made him stall, made him fail. He couldn't even move. He was in so much fear of what could or might happen. The trauma still affected him in many ways. due to the lack of Naruto being present, or rather, due to the lack of Naruto being able in this situation, Team 7 had to survive on their own, and they couldn't really do that. And thus, Naruto was the last one standing. Now realizing that his squad was in utter need of help, and that without him, they would all die. Naruto reminisced on the last time that he used the Nine Tails power, which was to protect his squad, and how once more he would be relying on that demonic power. It was then that Kyuubi chakra continued to form around Naruto, creating 3 tails at his back. Naruto grit his teeth as he killed all of the ambushers, including all of Gato's bandits, freeing Tazuna's village from the reign of Gato. With that being said, not a lot would happen from here until the Chunin exams, albeit not a lot in terms of the story. A lot did happen as far as Naruto went. He began to learn how to control the Nine Tails on a much deeper level in this case. Now, the Chunin exams. How would they really go? Well, in this Chunin exams, everything for the most part goes the exact same, except for the fact that Naruto's not actually participating. So, Kiba does not have the same fight, and, well, nor does Gaara. With that being said, while watching Sasuke versus Gaara, which is still a fight that will be occurring in this timeline, Naruto sees something's wrong in that Gaara is about to, well, let's just say, transform, which would lead Naruto into interrupting the fight with all of the Jonin that stopped it beforehand. With that being said, that kind of felt like it made no sense, but basically, the Jonin that originally stopped Sasuke's fight with Gaara, which was just the Proctor, but yeah. With that being said, Naruto now watched as Gaara escaped, as Naruto would rush after Gaara, with Sasuke trailing after Naruto and Sakura trailing after Sasuke. With that being said, they now enter the Forest of Death, as it would be here that Naruto would, well, to put it simply, do whatever it takes to defeat Gaara. Gaara would be defeated, as Sasuke would watch this, remarking that seeing Naruto fight Gaara was like watching a legendary shinobi in battle. With that being said, Naruto, realizing that Orochimaru was now after Sasuke, would hunt Orochimaru down, killing him, to ensure that Sasuke would never be used as his vessel. With that being said, this is actually where I'm going to end the story. I know, a very weird place to end the story, so I'm going to wrap everything up. Later on in the story, Naruto kills Orochimaru, later establishing a bond with Itachi. This bond would later come in handy, allowing Naruto to use the Koto Natsukami on Sasuke unknowingly. This means that Sasuke, no matter what, would protect the village. And thus, after a massive clash with Sasuke, Naruto and Sasuke become friends once more, as they are now all Jonin Squad captains. Naruto still holds on to his dream of becoming Hokage, or rather of wanting to become Hokage, and is still in this timeline crowned Lord 7th. With that being said, Naruto does have 2 children, just like in the original timeline. This time it is not with, well, Hinata, and instead in this timeline it is with Karin. Naruto would actually seek Karin out, establishing a further bond with her. With that being said, he would eventually take her back to the Leaf Village, where they would have 2 children. In this timeline, one of the children's name is still Boruto, but Boruto is younger than his older brother, whose name is Raikiri. I know, really near name because it's kind of based off the Chidori, but that was just the name that they chose. With that being said, Raikiri and Boruto are close to the same age. Boruto in this timeline being 12 years old, where we are currently in the story, and Raikiri being about 16. With that being said, Naruto lives a happy ever after. As for Sasuke and Sakura, they do eventually, let's just say, meet eyes and have children. With that being said, yeah, I think that's all the loose ends that I needed to tie up for the most part. As for Naruto's blade, it is still the blade that he regularly uses and is attached to his Hokage attire. With that being said, Naruto Squad would forever go down in the history books, and each and every single day, nearly, Naruto visits the graves of his, well, dead comrades. Or really, whenever he gets a chance, talking to them about his life and, well, kind of similar to Kakashi, dealing with his own trauma, if you will. With that being said, this was a little bit of a long video, so if you made it through this entire video, kudos to you, because I think it's going to be like an hour and 8 minutes by the time I'm finished editing all of this. It really just depends on everything that happens. But with that being said, this was What If Naruto was a Sensei. The only reason why I did this what if first, based off of the 3 what ifs that I did on the poll, and even though this one got the least amount of votes, I chose this one just due to the fact that I had a thumbnail for it ready to go. I could post it quickly, no problemo, if you will. And it just worked out perfectly. With that being said, to all of you guys watching at home, thank you. You guys do not know how much you mean to me and how much better my life has become just for all of you. Just because all of you are in it, it actually has changed so much, and I'm really happy. And I actually, like, literally love all of you. Even some of the people who hate on my channel. But for the most part, just my loving and supporting fans. So if you are a loving and supporting fan, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, as that would be deeply appreciated. Share the video to a friend likes for this, or just anime content in general. Comment down below your thoughts and feelings about the video, as that would be deeply appreciated by, well, with that being said, you can become a member of the channel. And, yeah, join my Discord server in the description down below. And RamiX,